Hi everybody, it's Annette from The Art of Intuition, and today we are going to talk about computers. And are we that different from computers? We're going to delve into this a little bit. I've seen this come up a lot about AI, and I've had a couple questions about AI, and I think I've touched on it here and there in some of my videos about why we are so against AI. And I'm starting to see a lot of different perceptions on that from my end, so I do want to come on and share them because that's what we do. We see something else, we want to come on and share it. So if you ever feel like that's what you want to do, then do it. A lot of people think it has to be some master monumental thing they go on and talk about, but it doesn't have to be. Our human wants everything to be this big thing. I saw someone the other day and they had done this really big thing and raised a lot of money for a charity, but they still felt like it wasn't enough. And that's our programming telling us, oh, that's not enough. We have to start to do the little things before we can even do the big things. We're not ready for the big stuff until we are shown we can do the small stuff. So that's just a little side note, but I do want to bring that up. So AI. Okay. Our human aspect is very much a computer. Our body is more of a computer. Our DNA is like a computer. Our timelines that are programmed in are, I'm going to say non-changing. And when I say that, a lot of people think, so why do I change anything? Anytime we ever hear, oh, it can't be changed, or that has to be that way, I want to put a little bit of context around that because yes, some things can't be changed. Some things you're going to go through. Some things you have agreed to do. Some things you are going to have to do. The quality of the experience, your perception of the experience will shift depending on the timeline you're in. And some timelines you get in, you don't have to experience certain things. So in certain timelines, every timeline things are, in my perception, they are already done, right? We've already done everything. There is no time, so everything kind of overlaps and overlaps and overlaps. If you've ever watched the show Manifest, they touch on this a little bit, because they touch on how when these people are kind of in what they're calling, what I call source consciousness, they call divine consciousness, where they could see everything. So when they came back in human bodies, all of a sudden they're saying they're getting callings or they're seeing their future, but they're really just seeing stuff they'd already seen. So they were just remembering things, and that's really what we do all the time. We think we're seeing a future in a sense. We're just remembering different timelines. We're remembering different things we're going to do. We're going to remember stuff. It's not that it's in another space and time. If it was in another space and time, then we wouldn't know it at all. It has to be something that has a similar frequency to something we're doing right now. We talk about that a little bit with past lives. It's not in a past life. It's happening concurrently. The reason it's coming up now is because it's a similar energy signature to something you're doing. That's why all of a sudden it's kind of getting reborn a little bit for you. It's kind of coming back through because it's important right now. It might not be important for you in a year from now or 6 months from now. Something else will come through. But right now it's important. So when we talk about comparing ourselves to a computer, I always like to look at how are we really different. Everyone likes to think, well, a computer can't think. Well, a human consciousness can't think either. Our human aspect can't think. It's programmed to do certain things. It's going to always default to your programming, and you're always going to be doing the blueprint of what you were supposed to do. There are some people that will perceive that the human aspect, in a sense, is just a virus in the system. It corrupts the whole system of what our body is trying to do, what our soul is trying to do. It is, in a way, sort of it's a glitch. If we look out, a lot of people will compare, and I'll do it too. We talk about our matrix. We talk about what's outside of us. We talk about glitches in the matrix. We talk about different things we'll notice. We didn't notice before. Now we notice certain things, certain conversations to kind of jump out of us. It's kind of like we're in our own virtual game. So to say we are better than computers and to say that we our human perception is, and that's always coming from a human perception. Anytime we say we're better than any situation, any concept that starts like that, you're in your human aspect when you're saying it. When we're saying, oh, I'm better than that, or we're better than this, because you're in that polarity, in that duality of better. This is better, it's more important, this person is, that situation is, that that group is, then we're in our human aspect. And sometimes it's just enough to recognize just when you're there. Maybe at the point you're at right now, you can just recognize when you're there and just try to shift out of there. But you still might be living a lot of your day from there, but at least you can feel it when you go there. You know, it's not like when you're completely unconscious and you live there and you don't notice it. You don't realize you're a computer system. You don't realize that everything's predestined, everything is pre-programmed, everything has already been done. So a lot of things we do, in a way, we go through the motions. And then a lot of people will say, why do we bother? If it's all predestined, it's all been pre-done, why do we do it? The timeline we're in, you're going to get different experiences. You're going to get different knowledge. You're going to reach a different place. If we stay in our human consciousness, you have no free will. There's no free will there of what you can do. When we talk about free will, we're talking about being able to jump to different timelines, being able to shorten a timeline. When you see, being able to say, I'm not going to participate in that timeline because I don't see the purpose in that. But we have to be at a consciousness place to be able to bypass these timelines. You know, when you say this stuff from a human perspective, I'll have someone say, and I can tell when someone's in their human aspect and they're thinking about it, or they're trying to reason it and say, well, if we don't have any free will, then why do we do anything, or how do I then shift it? From your human aspect, you can't shift anything. It doesn't have the power to do that. It only has the power to follow the program. It only has the power to, why do you think it's so easy for AI to duplicate us? When we're in our human aspect, it's very easy to duplicate us because we're all going to do the same thing. We don't change much. The cadence of our voice is going to be the same. What we're going to say is going to be the same. You don't start seeing those big changes in your voice. I always talk about also in your eyes. Your eyes get a lot lighter. Your voice does change. It can go from that. It can go from being kind of, depending on the aspects of you that are more dominant. You know, if you are very masculine, and I'm going to use masculine, feminine here, it's never tied to a gender. There's people who have a lot of feminine energy that are in a male body, and that has nothing to do with sexuality either. It's just how the energy of which they feel more comfortable, really, is what they lead with. You have women that have very masculine energy. It has nothing to do with sexuality. It's just what they're it's more of their set point. And we're talking about human masculine, human feminine. When you get to divine masculine, divine feminine, that's a different energy. You know, the just divine feminine is just a being energy, a being comfortable energy with yourself. And the divine masculine is a doing energy, getting out and actually doing something. You know, we spend a lot of time when we're in the fifth dimension, and people talk about the fifth dimension where you're actually just doing something. You know, or let me walk that back. You're actually just being. You're just being in those feelings. You're being in those emotions. You're being in that light. You're feeling that peace, that joy. That's a very divine feminine energy. It's not feminine whining energy, but it's a divine feminine energy. When you get into divine masculine, you're getting into 6th dimension, 7th dimension, 8th dimension, where you actually have to do something. You know, we talk a lot on this channel about seeing something, or knowing we're in a program, or knowing we're doing something over and over again, but not actually wanting to fix it. Just wanting to keep being in the same thing, keep complaining about the same thing, even once we can see it. And once we can see it, you know, if we've taken certain classes and certain things, we've remembered certain things, we've done a lot of work on ourselves, we've done a lot of, maybe we've gotten into spirituality, which is just the door to open you up to ascension. We don't stay there. You know, we can't stay in these places. Though there are a lot of people that their position, what they agree to do is to stay in a lot of these places for a long period of time. But eventually even they will move out of them. But a lot of these are just stopping off points, especially now. You know, especially now. As now there's so much farther we can go that we don't have to stay in these places. Since 2012, we've been able to go to such higher places that we don't have to stay in spirituality. We don't have to stay just in those concepts. We become those concepts. We're just not playing in them. So we have to really be honest. Are we playing in it, or are we actually living it? Do we just want to play in it here and there, but then I want to go back and live something else? You know, am I just gonna, you know, it's kind of to the saying, am I just gonna go to church on Sunday and the rest of the week not live by what I just said I was gonna do on Sunday? It's kind of the same kind of thing. What aspect is really talking? When we're in our human aspect, we don't have free will. Our free will comes into what timeline are we going to play in? You know, what do I want to participate in? But until we have the consciousness to see it, we have to go through the experience, because that's the way we're going to get to the next phase. We only can skip an experience, and I'm going to say skip an experience, cut it short, if we understand the full extent of what we were going to get from that, or what we were going to be playing in if we went back to that. If we can't see that and we don't understand that, then that's the reason we have to do the experience. They're not here to sort of beat us down in a sense. I mean, that's what they eventually do, because we keep getting involved in the same kind of stuff. They're here to take us to the next level, but taking us to the next level means stripping us of the human aspect, which feels like a beatdown. That's just how it feels. It feels like we're getting beat down because we don't know what else to do. You know, I was like, fuck, I don't know what else to do anymore. You know, it's like I kind of reached this point, and I thought I would have had a breaking point 3 years ago, but this one little thing is my breaking point to push me right over the edge as far as what I'm going to go do now. You know, what my soul wants to do now. Living your human life and your human template is a lot different than living your soul template. And we try to mush those two together, and we can't do that. And those times are quickly ending. You know, we're not going to be able to do a hybrid anymore. You know, you're going to get to this point where it's just not going to be enough. And the human stuff will fade away because you've gotten your frequency so different from that now. The more different the frequency is, the farther you get away from it, the more your DNA starts to shift. You're open up to all the possibilities, all the timelines you can participate in. And there is not just one, there are so many. The timeline you're in, is it predestined? Yes. Can you shift to another one? Yes. But you can't shift to another one unless you understand the reason you don't want to be in the one you're already in. You know, and that means you have to have the consciousness to look at that timeline and see, I don't want to do A, B, and C, because I already did that. I did that 2 years ago. I don't want to do that again. You know, there was a scene in the movie Eat, Love, Pray, which I think that's the name of it. I don't know if I even saw the whole thing, but it was a scene in it when she was looking at dating a person. She's like, no, I dated you 20 years ago. And that's kind of what we kind of start to feel after a while. Like, I already did all this. There's no point in me doing this again. But we can only say that when we can feel that. When we can feel with everything we have that, no, I've done that. I don't need to do that again. You know, I don't need to go through that again. Now technically, would it be the same experience? No, because we never can have the same experience. We're always in a different timeline, technically, because we're always going to be in a slightly different frequency. But we can look at overall, when I look at this whole thing together, when I take the whole thing and really look at it, okay, when I look and see the whole thing, is this something I really want to do again? And and now am I really ready to shift into something else? See so many people that are so afraid for the shift. I was one of those people that was afraid for the shift. So when I talk about this stuff, I'm talking about it from experience. I did not want to shift out of some of that stuff because we don't know what comes next. You know, sometimes we have to take that leap of faith. We have to take the Indiana Jones leap of faith, in a sense, and not know what's going to happen. And sometimes we don't know until we're right about to take that step that there's going to be anything under us to step on, you know, because we're creating that as we go. We haven't created it yet. We don't know what timeline, in a sense, we're going to end up in. We just want an amazing one. You know, I want to be in an awesome timeline. I don't know if I care which one it is. If it's awesome, doesn't matter. Is the one I'm in that awesome? Am I trying to make it awesome? Am I trying to make myself a martyr in the timeline? Am I trying to, because it doesn't matter even what we're doing. It matters the energy we do it from. So if we're doing something because we want to get praise, or we're doing something because we want to feel better even about ourselves, that's still a taint to that timeline. It's still not pure because we're doing it for an alternative motive. And we're doing it from our human perception, from our human aspect. And there's nothing wrong with doing something from your human aspect for a while, as long as we can identify that's what it is and then shift out of it. Eventually we will stop it. As soon as we start going into it, we stop it. You know, we don't even have to wait. As soon as we start going there, we immediately shift out of it and go, okay, no, wait. Stop the presses. I'm not going there again. I know I'm in my human aspect. I don't want to go there again. Sometimes even when I'm watching a TV show, sometimes I'll find myself going down that linear path and I'm like, what am I doing? Stop. It doesn't matter. Go back, look at it from a higher perspective and start to see all the things it's activating. So when we talk about, we're going to circle this back around. When we talk about AI, when we talk about all of the computer stuff, look at where we're that different. We're not that different. We're programmed a certain way, and until we start to debug our programming, we are no different. We are no different. Look at where you keep doing the same thing. Look at where you're in a loop. A lot of people will say, well, computers can't reason. We don't either. Our human aspect can't reason either. It gets stuck in the same stuff over and over and over again. It's just not able to break out of it. Only higher consciousness breaks you out of that. Only ascension, awakening, pre-awakening starts to break you out of that. But there's still a lot of recoding that has to be done. There's still a lot, and that's why it takes time. You know, it takes time to shift things. It takes time to change things. We actually have to be the change. We can't look at someone else to do it. We can't look at someone else to be the change because we think, oh, they have more to give than I do, right? They have more money, they have more fame, they have more status, they can do this better than I can do it. We have to throw that all out the window. That's our human aspect saying we're not good enough. You know, that's our programming saying we're not good enough. When we talk about programming, it's no different than computer programming. You know, we're talking about all this stuff like it's something foreign to us. Like we're better than a computer. We're not better than a computer. We're just not. Our human aspect is not. It is the same. So start looking at where you're mimicking that. You know, where it's always funny when I heard someone say this the other day, they were talking about aliens again. You know, it was the whole alien thing has come up again because of some stuff that happened, I don't know, in Las Vegas or something. I saw that on YouTube a couple weeks ago, or maybe a month ago now. It was like, well, maybe the aliens are already here. And it's like, we are already here. We have galactic aspects. We have alien races as our aspects. We are here. You know, we have galactic intelligence. We're already here. If we just project that stuff out, like we project anything out, and we see it outside of us. A lot of times because it's frightening to us. You know, us even embracing galactic aspects and galactic races are very frightening to us because it feels very alien. It does not feel like us. It doesn't feel human. That's why a lot of people gravitate toward, when we talk about human races, they'll gravitate more toward the Pleiadian aspects because it looks more human than some of the other ones do. You know, so that's a lot of the go-to when people go to first because at least it kind of looks human. The rest of them, not so much. And it causes that fear to come up. You know, it causes that all to come up. It causes that us to look at things in a different light, and it brings up all that fear. I've had so many people talk to me about UFOs and seeing UFOs, and you know, it's kind of funny when you look at it from the perspective of it's just aspects of us. We just see them as outside of us because we have not embodied them yet. It's the same thing as seeing a ghost. It's the same thing. It's just us. You know, these are all things that kind of come in to show us how vast we are and how powerful we are, and that we are computers, and we don't even want to look at that all as a negative thing. You know, from our human aspect, it can be because it's programmed to do the same thing. When we look at ourselves as galactic intelligence, as you know, I talked a couple videos ago about your forehead expanding because our cranial expansions, our brain in a sense, not even our brain, but we start to have cranial expansions. You know, we start to be able to do more, and the parts of our brain that can, you know, that is said that we only use certain parts of it, it starts to expand. It starts to come online. You know, more things start to happen, and we're able to feel more, do more, see more, be more. We're just able to project more of ourselves. We're able to really embody who we really are. And when that starts happening, our physical body does change. You know, we do start to see different things happening. We start to have burns, sunburns. People who don't even get out in the sun, all of a sudden their skin's burning because it's the solar light from inside of us that's coming in, and now it's kind of burning off different things. It's burning off your old skin in a sense to bring the new skin in. It's a very physical process. It's a very intense process, but we want to be open to all the process. And there's going to be parts of it that you're not going to be open to. I know there are parts of it that I'm not open to or haven't been open to until I feel that I'm not open to it. And then we know we have to, because if we can't open ourselves up to it, we will create an experience to open us up to it. And it might not be an experience we're going to enjoy. because it's going to put us through that physical ringer in a sense of going through an experience where if energetically we can see, yeah, I don't really like that part of it. Maybe I don't really want to go through some of the, I'm really afraid of the really heavy physical stuff, or I'm really afraid of the having to rearrange my life, or maybe both of those I'm really afraid of. I have a lot of fear. I got to work through the fear of those things. Then to kind of jump into the next phase, because all this stuff, when we talk about it being pre-programmed, all this stuff we said we were going to do. This is not stuff that all of a sudden we can say, oh, we don't want to do it anymore. Like, we agreed to do certain things, and hell or high water, we're going to do them. Even if it feels like we change our minds. You know, these are things that are agreed upon on a much higher consciousness, and the importance of them is from a much higher consciousness. Don't expect someone from a human consciousness to appreciate anything you're doing from higher consciousness. It just doesn't work like that. They're not going to. We didn't either. You know, it's always important to remember, a lot of it's that karmic wheel coming back around. I didn't appreciate that when else was not appreciating the work I'm doing, because I didn't appreciate that when I was in that place. We start to see all the connections of everything, and we're computing it. You know, we are constantly computing it. We're constantly seeing, you know, what we're doing, what we're not doing, what we need to do next, what we don't need to mess with that. When I can feel that there's this one situation I've been dealing with since I've been in this timeline, which I know I can't leave this timeline until I get to a certain energetic place with this, that anytime even the person's name comes up, I feel immediately, you know, I go into, I just, my human aspect, my ego comes in immediately, and I just want to kind of bristle up a little bit. Yeah. And but I'm seeing it to such a clear extent now, what I'm going to need to do to fix that, and what I'm going to need to do to resolve that within myself. Because you can see it. It's not you're so far in your ego, it's you against them. It's really just us against us. I mean, I can see what I'm doing. I'm doing it. They're not doing it. They're going to do on their journey where they're supposed to do it. My reaction to their journey, that's the issue. My reaction, how other people react to them, that's what we can feel we have an issue with, and what we have to deal with. We have to always deal with ourselves first. If we can't deal with ourselves, we can't deal with anybody else. You know, we're not going to be able to, you know. It's kind of like we talked about earlier, doing the small stuff. And we bring it back to computers. You know, if a computer can't do a small computation, it's not going to be given a big computation to do. You know, it's kind of like when we first start off in any career. You know, if we can't do the small tasks, we can't do the bigger tasks. If we can't learn our letters, we can't learn to read. It's the same thing when you're going through soul-aligned realities and trying to align the realities, and what's soul-aligned, and how do I connect with this person. If I can't do the small stuff, we're not getting to the big stuff. You know, big stuff doesn't matter because we couldn't do it anyway. Why do we want the big stuff before we can even do the small stuff? Because learning to do something soul aligned and learning to do stuff from your higher aspect is totally different than doing it from your human aspect. We'll see some of the big stuff come in, but we'll still try to do it from our human aspect. So technically, it's not the stuff we've been waiting for, because we're going to taint it now with our human shit. And now it's not what we wanted. And we're like, why isn't it what we wanted? It's what I thought I wanted, but it's different because I'm not doing it from my soul aspects, my highest aspects. I'm doing it for my human one. Because I don't know yet how to be a higher aspect. What does that even look like? That's not how my body was originally programmed. So I got to reprogram it to be able to do that. To let my higher consciousness DNA come online. To let that reprogram. To let that reprogram your body. To reprogram your cells. It's a continual thing for us. You know, it's not easy. And I say it 100 times, and I'm going to continue to say it. It's not easy, and if anyone tells you it's easy, it's just because they haven't gotten to the hard stuff yet. And that's that. So, all right, this is supposed to be, I was going to do this under like 10 minutes, and now I'm almost in half an hour, and I'm going to go do a stream. So, okay, keep practicing the art of intuition.